welcome to the deep dive. We've got some interesting source material today, specifically a lesson from the English Basics podcast that talks about luxury.
Right.
And our mission, well, it isn't just to replay that lesson, is it? We want to really dig into what luxury means.
Exactly. Go a bit deeper than just the dictionary definition.
Yeah, how we use the word, what it says about, what we value.
It's one of those words, isn't it? Seems simple, but there's a lot packed in there.
Okay, so let's kick things off where they did the basics. Always a good starting point. The podcast notes luxury as a noun comes from Latin luxus, and originally it meant something like extravagance or excess.
Yeah, excess, extravagance. It sort of sets the stage, doesn't it? That it's about more than just what you need.
It really does. And the modern definition they give follows that line. Something expensive, high quality.
Usually unnecessary.
Right, unnecessary. But, and this is key, very enjoyable.
And the examples they used were pretty clear, I thought. A luxury spa weekend.
Classic. Or owning a sports car, definitely a luxury, not a necessity for most of us.
Or even, and I like this one, the luxury of just sleeping in on Sundays.
Ah, yes. Simple pleasure. So all things that kind of elevate the everyday.
Spot on. And straight away, you think of, well, comfort, pleasure.
And maybe a bit of status, too, let's be honest.
Sure, that can definitely be part of it. But then the podcast asks this really crucial question directed at the listener. And maybe we should ask it now, too.
Yeah, good idea. What comes to your mind when you hear that word luxury? What's the first image or feeling?
Because, that personal connection is huge here.
It is.
Well, yeah, the five-star hotel or the designer handbag, they fit the bill.
Totally. Obvious examples.
But then they bring in sipping tea on a balcony.
Which really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
It does.
It kind of shifts the focus. It highlights that luxury isn't always, tied to a big price tag.
Exactly. The podcast makes that point really well. It can be about time. Or peace.
Or even freedom. That feeling of being unrestricted.
Yeah.
Intangibles.
And that little story, the anecdote about the traveler.
Oh, in the small village?
Yeah, I thought that captured it perfectly. Someone, not wealthy in material terms, but finding this deep luxury in a simple routine.
His morning tea, watching the sunrise.
Yeah. It just nails that idea that luxury can be so subjective. It's a feeling of abundance, whatever that looks like for you. What stood out to you there?
For me, it was how deliberate it seemed. He wasn't just passively experiencing it.
Yeah.
He was recognizing it as luxury, being present.
That's a great point, presence. Okay, so changing gears a little.
Right.
The podcast then moves into specific vocabulary, which is super helpful, actually, for talking about these different shades of luxury we're touching on.
Yeah, language matters. Okay, first up was elegant.
Right. Elegant, stylish, but simple, graceful.
Yeah, graceful is a good word. The example was a restaurant, small, but very elegant. So refined, not flashy.
Then there's lavish. That definitely dials it up a bit.
Oh, yeah. Lavish means very rich, elaborate, luxurious, obviously.
The example was a lavish wedding with hundreds of guests. You immediately picture something big, expensive, grand.
Definitely. Okay, next, splurge.
Ah, splurge. We all know this one, right? Spending a lot, usually more than you planned, on something you don't technically need.
Like the example, I decided to splurge on a new phone. That feeling of treating yourself.
Exactly, a conscious choice.
Then, opulent.
Opulent. This feels even more intense than lavish, maybe, like really showing off wealth, sometimes dramatically.
Yeah, the example was, the palace was filled with opulent decorations. Paints a picture of serious extravagance.
Yeah.
Gold taps and chandeliers, maybe?
Probably. And the last one was indulge.
Indulge. Allowing yourself to enjoy something, especially something unnecessary.
Like dessert. It's okay to indulge in dessert sometimes. A reminder that luxury can be small pleasures, too.
It's interesting how they all relate but capture different sort of levels or types of luxury, isn't it?
Totally shows the spectrum. Okay, so then the podcast gets into the why. What's driving this desire for luxury?
Yeah, the motivations. Is it just about comfort, happiness?
Or is it maybe something deeper, like wanting to feel more confident? Or maybe impress people?
Could be. It touches on the psychology of it all.
And they offer this really key insight, I think, that luxury is often more about feeling rich than actually being rich in terms of money.
That really connects back, doesn't it, to the tea on the balcony, the sleeping in, the non-material stuff. Why do you think that feeling is so potent?
Good question. Maybe it connects to like a fundamental need for well-being or a sense of having enough or even succeeding.
Could be. And the examples of non-material luxury they gave really hit home for me.
Like what?
Well, sitting in silence without phone notifications pinging constantly. I mean, wow, that feels genuinely luxurious these days.
Doesn't it just? Increasingly rare.
Or the really fundamental things. Having clean water, a safe home. We might take them for granted, but they're huge luxuries for so many.
Absolutely. And time with family, probably the most precious. These aren't things you buy in a shop, but they make life feel rich, you know?
They absolutely do. It broadens the whole definition of what richness even means.
Exactly. It's not just about the bank balance.
So the source wraps up by posing 3 questions to the listener, which I think are worth us passing on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, first, what does luxury mean to you personally?
Good one. Second, can something simple still feel luxurious?
We've sort of answered that, but it's good to reflect personally.
For sure. And finally, what's the last thing you splurged on?
Puts you on the spot a bit.
It does. But they're great questions for just thinking about your own life and what truly brings that feeling of abundance or satisfaction.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, it's pretty clear luxury is way more complex than just like expensive watches or fancy cars.
Yeah, much more nuanced. It's this multifaceted thing. Include material stuff, sure, but also experiences
That we use our time.
and those really personal feelings. Contentment, well-being.
The English Basics podcast gave us a solid foundation, reminding us it goes beyond price tags. It's about spotting and valuing what gives us pleasure and that sense of richness.
However we define that for ourselves.
Right. And maybe, just maybe, the final thought here is about actively looking for those simple luxuries in our own lives. You know?
Taking a moment to actually notice them.
Yeah. That quiet cup of coffee, a walk in the park, a good conversation. Acknowledge them. Recognize the richness they bring.
Because sometimes those non-material things, they might actually be the most valuable luxuries we have.
Couldn't agree more. They're the things that truly enrich our lives, beyond just the stuff we own.